When Walter Scott died after being shot in the back multiple times by a North Charleston police officer early this month, his family suggested he may have run in an attempt to avoid jail time for unpaid child support. Scott's home state of South Carolina is one of the toughest when it comes to punishing parents who don't pay, even when there is no evidence that the strategy is working. This week, writing for The Atlantic, Ta-Nehisi Coates writes, quote, "At some point, Americans decided that the best answer to every social ill lay in the power of the criminal justice system. Vexing social problems, homelessness, drug use, the inability to support one's children, mental illness are presently solved by sending in men and women who specialize in inspiring fear and ensuring compliance. Fear and compliance have their place, but it can't be every place." It's a provocative point, and so I do want to put this question to my panel. Are we asking the police to do too much? And I will come to you, Keith, on that question.
At times, yes. An officer wears many hats. As you're taught in academy, you are the first line for everything. And people expect you to know the answer to every social issue, any environmental question, etc. There are laws on the books that clearly police officers shouldn't be handling, that are real small. You may have to get a task force, a small outside agency that police should not be involved in, to where people wouldn't fear going to jail for not paying child support.
Right.
And an immediate state to where they have to flee from a cop.
And Cristina, at the same time, you do have these social ills. You do have things like child support. You do have domestic situations, whether it's, truancy all the way up to domestic violence. If the police are not the right agency to handle all of these social ills, then who is?
Well, then I think if we're really going to talk about police reform, this is a really, I think Ta-Nehisi Coates' article in The Atlantic is like required reading for this issue, because I do think he's really put his finger on something really critical, which is that we have decided to ask the police to do everything. And there is a way in which they are social workers. They're dealing with people at the ground level. But clearly, what we've done basically is we've criminalized inequality, right? And so fundamentally, when we're dealing with issues of the fact that we think it's normal that a problem of homelessness or drug abuse or drug addiction or mental illness is that the police are the first responders to that is a really insane question. Is really, when you think about what we're doing, it's pretty absurd. So I do think one thing that as we really think deeply about reforming police culture, we should be thinking creatively about, should there be other forces involved? Should there be other kinds of responders? Should police have to go through a process where maybe some people spend a few years not carrying guns but dealing with communities in particular ways? Like, we are smart enough people that we should be able to think creatively about new ways to confront the myriad of social problems we have without the logic of force as our first. But
then I wonder, Judith, isn't that the essence of community policing? Having police in the community on the small things so that they know the community when the big things happen?
Right, but not that they lock them up on the small things. That's not the way it should go. I mean, this really is just endemic of like our country's rush to incarcerate people, right? In the work that we do at Advancement Project on the school to prison pipeline, for example, police are in schools arresting kids for minor things, often because the school has decided it's easier to turn that young person, 5-year-old, temper tantrum, turn them over to the cop so the cop can handle it so we don't have to. Yeah. So we have to get back to really thinking about what might seem like hard work, but is preventative work.
And very quickly, in 30 seconds, Matt, is it the police or is it the laws?
It's the laws primarily. We have too many stupid laws that the police shouldn't be enforcing. You shouldn't be in a chokehold for selling a loose cigarette. That's ridiculous. We don't know how many federal criminal laws there are. People can't count them. They're in the thousands now. They shouldn't be enforcing that. And there shouldn't be an incentive system for the local cops to use citizens as revenue streams. That's happening all over the country. It's a terrible incentive. We need to get rid of that.
Yeah, not just in Ferguson. Thank you very much. And I want to thank Keith Sainten. The rest of the panel is sticking around. And coming up next, Loretta Lynch's long wait, 162 days and counting. And now even the president is losing patience. And perfectly good food going to waste. Why are we throwing away almost half of all edible food? More Nerdland at the top of the hour.